This section is about our immune system. It consists of organs, cells, and molecules that fight infections. We're going to go through those various cells and molecules in different tissues that help the immune system, whose main function it is to keep us healthy. Our immune system's main function is to fight off infection caused by pathogens. We talked about pathogens in the last section. That's any kind of organism that causes a disease in our bodies. There are other tissues and systems that help the immune system. Our mucous membranes. When you think of mucus, where do you think of in your body? Most of the time you think of your nose. You have mucous membranes that its job is to physically trap pathogens before they even get into our bodies. So there's a purpose to all of our mucus. But saliva and earwax, those are all considered mucous membranes as well. The circulatory system, all of our blood vessels, our veins, our arteries, they transport all of our blood. And in our blood includes white blood cells, whose job is to keep us healthy. Our skin is our first line of defense. This is our actual physical barrier that will keep pathogens outside of our bodies. We talked about this when we talked about cells and our cell membrane. Each of our tiny little cells has its own set of skin to keep stuff out, but we, as a whole organism, have our skin on the outside of us. Our skin also has oil and sweat glands because many pathogens cannot survive in that environment. Sweat makes our skin slightly acidic, and a lot of pathogens don't like that acid, so it'll just kill them on contact. When you get cut, your skin gets red and itchy as it's healing. That is called inflammation, and it's because white blood cells are rushing to the site of that cut to keep pathogens out. It's very easy for pathogens to enter if we have some kind of an open wound in our skin. Our white blood cells, these find and kill pathogens that have gotten past our first line of defense. They can also release chemical signals into our blood to trigger more white blood cells to start fighting. There are different types of white blood cells. Phagocytes will engulf and destroy pathogens. Lymphocytes, there's a couple different types. There's T cells that will destroy infected cells. So sometimes pathogens get into our various cells, whether it's our blood cells or some other kind of cell. That cell now needs to be destroyed because it is infected. It's no longer healthy. And it is the job of T cells to do that. There's various types of T cells as well, but we'll get to that later. B cells produce proteins that destroy pathogens that have not yet infected a body cell. So they're just kind of floating around in our bodies. Antibodies is another term another structure we have in our body that keeps us healthy. So antibodies are proteins that are made by our B cells that will destroy pathogens. Antibodies react to specific antigens. Remember, antigens are the ID tags found on various pathogens. So antibodies are made by our bodies. Antigens are made by pathogens. And antibodies will attack the antigens. And antibodies can destroy pathogens in various ways. One, they inactivate it by binding to it. If they bind to it, loses their structure. And most of the time, if something loses their structure, it also loses its main function. They can also make them clump, so they're more easily recognized and then destroyed by phagocytes. That's what's being modeled in the picture. They can also activate certain proteins that will weaken the pathogen cell membrane. And then without a cell membrane, the whole organism will just kind of dissolve. They can't survive without it.